All right. Getting started a little bit earlier here. I don't have a new setup. It's just I'm doing something different with the setup. There we are. On my headphones. I'm going to do like an emotional programming live stream. So let me make sure my sound is right. Yo, Don Calypso's hilarious. Your channel. I'd invite okay, perfect. I really do like the picture I chose this time. It's actually really cool. Actually, really cool. All right, let's make sure the lighting's good here. I got some work to do after this, as always. So I'll probably do this for about maybe 2 hours or so. Depends on where the discussion goes. I don't want it to. I want to be a little bit more objective, scientific, pointing out thought patterns and pointing out. Oh, let me look here because I always look at my monitor or myself. Shows how vain I am. I want to really focus on thought patterns and overall pattern recognition in terms of the behavior of the modern woman or women in general, and also people in general. Emotional programming is not something that's trademarked. It's completely open source. You can actually do the same thing and flip it and do it on men as well. And you could actually look at it and from a standpoint of a woman looking at a man and actually doing pattern recognition and maybe even do it from a side of maybe feelings, which I mean, I'm not going to do or nor promote. I'd like to call it, I like to talk about it in a way that is a little bit more clear and concise and to the point. Don Calypso. I was just talking about you, man. I was just looking at your text. You're hilarious, dude. Okay, so I won't even repeat that. 2 hours. Good Lord, Edward Anderson has really been a bad influence on you, man. You know my streams will go on for like 3 to 4 hours, man. You know, my shit will be on there for a second. D Scott, yo, what's good, bro? I hope everything's good with you, man. All right, I'm gonna wash dishes and go to sleep. All right, man. Yeah, catch the playback. I appreciate you as always, bro. I know it's probably another tough day at the lab, most likely. So take it easy, man. I appreciate you showing up, and I know you always share, so I appreciate that as well, man. But the emotional programming series, I think I've only done one video, but the emotional programming series or that tagline or category of videos of mine are really about pattern recognition and talking about the things we as human beings do on a regular basis and experience. More specifically, a man looking at the way a woman is behaving or acting. So when you see someone like Steph Coe, who she is very giving in terms of like, you know, things that you could talk about. But a part of me can understand where she's coming from and what she's somewhat going through. But from the standpoint of a man looking at it, and really, I look at it in terms of pattern recognition, where I see she has two conflicting ideals, mindsets, perspectives that she is fighting with in her, you know. And I understand this because I have the same. I have the same. To a certain extent, I have the same thought patterns or mindset where I could be MGTOW, but I'm also a MGTOW that wants kids. And if you want kids, it's like, how are you going to raise those kids? And you're going to have to, quote unquote, give up or do that compromise or go down that path of marriage, long-term relationship. And when I say marriage, I mean like a marriage contract is the way I would do it, where I'm talking with the woman and she understands what I'm actually trying to do in the long run for the kids. But you see this duality, you see this split, you see this this internal fight, this internal war, this civil war mentally with the different personalities of someone like a Stefco. And I put my darn headset away, and I did want to test sound playing someone else's content. So we will be doing a semi play-by-play. I'm going to test how this, because I usually don't play videos. So I might want to play the audio or something like that. And I freezed her face on like the worst time. Sheed, I appreciate you being here. I'm not sure who shared my stuff, man, but I got 6 views, so that's pretty cool. I appreciate you all. This is going to be an emotional programming video where we talk mostly about the mindset, behavior of a person, and starting to break that down is the way I see it. I did invite I'm Classic, our boy Alvin, that I did the stream with about finances. We talked about this a little bit on WhatsApp earlier today, and then I did also invite BGS. So that'd be great if he could get in on this too as well. He said he saw it already, and he didn't think it was the video worthy. I guess maybe he didn't say that, but I didn't see anything from him about it. So he saw it and he was just like, it's par for the course, I guess, which I see as well as like, and that's what I saw, and that's how I looked at it as well. All right, so let's share screen and share with system audio. All right, and all right, let's see here. Excuse the sniffles. Pro tip: be careful sharing audio. If you guess they will hear themselves. Okay. Let me share the audio from that tab. Okay. All right. I think I got this right. Again, call me vain, but I mean, I just love the view. Let's play this, and I did get a warning. It was talking about sharing a Chrome tab versus sharing like a whole screen. So let me see how this works. Oh, remember. Okay, well, that's my warning right there. It's in writing. Remember to say fair use before you play anyone else's content. Fair use, motherfucker. Fair use. And that's another reason why I wanted just to play the audio, because I didn't want to play her video, even though her reactions are actually pretty funny. And of course, she has little blurbs that pop up on the screen that explain things that she felt like she missed or anything else like that. And this is not to attack Stefco. I don't have a big following or anything like that, and I don't expect you guys to go over there. And I think her blockhand is pretty strong anyway. So in terms of dissenting opinions and stuff like that, this video came out 2 weeks ago, so this is pretty old. So she's probably got comments turned off.
Long time no talk. Now, unlike in the past,
look at this.
This little break was not planned. I actually planned on having a huge Black History Month. I was like, okay, I want to honor Black creators. I want to talk about new TV shows, Black casts, and Black showrunners that I love. I want to do some video essays.
Testing.
Black female experience. Like, I was planning on going in.
All right, cool. Sounds good. All right. So fair use. And what I'm going to do is stop the share and do this again and share a tab instead. Chrome tab. All right, share. Good. All right, so this should be a little bit better. All right, good. All right, that should be good. And let me get everything right here. Put myself in the right position. Put Stefco front and center. Because it's not about me. It's about the archetype. It's about the person here. And let's play to test this again.
But like a lot of best laid plans, they did indeed go to waste. And the reasoning was very simple and I think very understandable.
Perfect. All right, taking out my earpiece here. All right, testing went well. Let's do this. Let's cook. Within the first 6 minutes of this video, you kind of see the same thing. that happens with younger women, that also happens, of course, with older women. They are still falling, quote unquote, for the traps. They are still falling into the same type of thought patterns. They are still doing the same things that they did before, but then it's covered up as I thought it was this, but it's like, do you not know what this looks like? So I'll be skipping around in this video and skipping forward, but Stefko talks about how she met an artist. And as we know, as men, when you're the person, the focal point of an event of any sort, excuse me, and you meet a woman and it is a way to possibly get some panache, you will put yourself out there as, you know, hey, listen, yeah, that's my stuff. You know, like you'll be more proud of it. You will show it off. You will associate yourself with it because it acts as a status symbol, just like cars, clothing, an event or a party or anything else like that, like the bachelor party. What is the point of a bachelor party if you're going to do debaucherous stuff and you're going to get married the next day, you know? And it's just like, or I'm the birthday boy and all this other stuff. You're the peacock in this case, and you're showing off your plumage. So it's like, okay, she got caught up by the plumage. And of course, she said she was drunk along with her friend. And I believe the gentleman was also a little bit younger from the sound of it. Or she said her friend was younger or something like that. Like she said like our friend was like 24 or something like that. And it's just like, you don't look 24, you look in your 30s. And, you know, she talks about how she's 37 going on 38, which is very surprising because it's like, okay, you're falling into the same type of behavioral patterns, or you're falling into the same type of trap, and you're damn near 40. It's just kind of like, wow, this is kind of crazy. Again, this is not just Stefko. This is the Stefkos. This is the archetypes that, or the women that represent this type of archetype, the modern woman, as you mostly hear nowadays, or is mostly presented nowadays. So when I hear somebody talk about this and talk about how she was talking to the guy and she was already assessing and shit testing and overall testing, not shit testing, but testing the guy and seeing his worth and seeing if he could stand up to quote unquote her, to match her. As I said in one of my last videos, the order of operations, where I was talking with a dancer and she's talking about, I need somebody to match my hustle. And then she tells me how much she makes, which is about $35,000 a year. And I'm thinking in my head, like, somebody at Burger King can match your hustle. Calm down. Like, it's not that serious. But a lot of women, even if they are well-to-do or in maybe a higher paid profession or making a little bit more, they want a man that can that could come to their level, when in fact they go after men that are way above their level and expect them to come down to their level and meet them as quote unquote equals. So it's not, if you're below me, you're not equal. If you're at my level, you're not equal. If you're above me, I need you to come down and be equal, which is very odd when you look at it, because you start to hear how people will talk, and how people will talk about, you know, other professions, or you'll start to hear how she talks about this man and how she and how he seemed maybe kind of fly by night, or doesn't seem structured, and she would be that structure. I'm telling you right now, the first 6 minutes of this video is quote unquote what's important. First 6 minutes of this video tells you more than enough about the rest of the video. And then at the 29-minute mark is where I really got the title, where she's fighting 2 different Stefkos, and she went into that female, the classic female role of cooking and things like that. And then the man doing something with his hands. And she was comfortable in that. She liked it, even though he didn't meet up with her on a intellectual level as she thought, you know, or as she believed. And that's a part of the problem, where a lot of people try to, you know, you have to have everything. And it's just like, listen, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, especially when you get a little bit older. It's just like, let's get to it here. I'm going to speed this up a little bit.
look at the title of the story, you will know that I really thought that in this month, in the year of our Lord 2022, in the month that we are apparently catapulting into World War III, I believe that I had met the love of my life, like my soulmate, hands down, bar none. It was so real to me, that I called my friend and I was like, oh my God, what do I do about my YouTube? People follow me because I'm sad. And so what do I do?
Boom. So right there, when you see, and I will be stopping this a lot, there's just so much into it. There's so much in this in terms of emotional programming. The emotional programming, this is like a patch, an update that goes out and gets broadcasted to her listeners and other people. And I only came up on this content because I was watching Red Femme Diaries, which I shared her video and her strength in the community tab along with another woman. And then next thing you know, I'm on a Steph Co video. It's kind of crazy. But you start to see how she's battling, oh my God, I'm this person that talks about pretty privilege and single life and the patriarchy and men in this society and how they are not doing enough. And then, oh my God, I think I met somebody, and ready to play all that back, like ready to like rewind all that, cut the video, cut the whole YouTube career off. There is no more pretty privilege. I'm the pretty one. I have the privilege because somebody wants me type stuff. And it's just like, whoa, that's crazy. Because even me as a MGTOW, I think about this too when I'm talking to somebody. And it's just like, I won't hide my content from that woman because I will talk to her about like, hey, listen, this is what, like I'll send women videos about my finance stuff. And I expect them to see the other stuff that comes up as well. So does that kill some relationships and interactions? Yes. But I could see how Steph Co would never tell this guy about her YouTube stuff and possibly try and hide it. And this is why you have other female content creators that are that have a more misandrous tone. One of the reasons why they don't show their face. Yeesh. Listen, Freeman's Journal. The worst part is I actually like Steph Co's fairly attractive to me. Like, you know, she like this would be okay. So it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad that she acts like this because I do think she's a fairly attractive woman. And this is a woman that would, you know, you could actually semi make a family with. But the mindset just makes her look, it just makes her look insufferable and makes her look ugly, which is kind of sad. What up, Freeman's Journal? I hope you're making more content, man. I only saw one video from you, which is a great start, and definitely want to hear more from you, brother. But this is another programming video. One of the last videos, shameless plug, we talked about social programming and why people are willingly giving up the right or the privilege of ownership in homes and things like that. I sell myself short. Or don't sell yourself short. I'm not gonna lie, man. I have a theory about ugly women, and I'm not calling Steph Co ugly. I've dealt with worse. But I have a theory about ugly women and good pussy. You know, they talk about crazy chicks with good pussy, ugly women with good pussy, man. There's a reason why these ugly chicks is out here having all these babies. Ed, what's up, brother? Hey, man, if you want to join this stream, let me know. I'll drop the link, man. Definitely. I put another one up. Oh, wow. I put up another one. Okay. Sorry. I missed that then. Maybe I don't have the bell. I will watch that and share it for sure. Definitely, guys that are watching, go out and check out Freeman's Journal. But this is okay. So this is the two Steph Co's that are in her, like that we know of, that we see. We see the we see the Steph Co and then maybe the Stephanie or whatever her full name is. There's a trade-off, a balance of qualities for sure. Yeah, definitely. But these are the two Steph Co's. These are the two people that are occupying the same body and having the same perspective. The one Steph Co, or the Steph Co that we know on YouTube, is the one that looks at men and looks at relationships and looks at women in relationships and says, we're not getting a fair deal. I don't understand this. There's pretty privilege and quote unquote and other stuff. But then there's the other Steph Co that wants more, that wants a relationship, that wants somebody to be with her and do more with her and things like that. So that's kind of what you're seeing a lot of times is the two. Ooh, I'm trying to see if I can get. Oh, I could just share this, right? Yeah, I should be able to share this. Ed, if you're still watching, you want to join, or anyone else that wants to join, we will stay on topic on this for sure and break this down. And this is not a going at Steph Co. This is going at the archetype and the things that we see, the Steph Co's of the world. All right. So, but you're seeing the two Steph Co's, or you'll see the two Steph Co's kind of battle going at it. The Steph Co that wants sex, wants the relationship from a man, and doesn't want to have the lonely single life and wants to do for a man and take care of a man. And then you see the Steph Co that talks about how men are not deserving of this and how women should stay away, should possibly stay away from, or be cautious of men and what they quote unquote provide or don't provide, or what they do, and then falling into the same trap.
Like, what if my content changes and I get just like swept up in this cloud of like love and happiness? Like, what do I to me to believe that I had met the love of my life, like my soulmate, hands down, bar none. It was so real to me that I called my friend and I was like, oh my God, what do I do about my YouTube? People follow me because I'm sad. And so what do I do? Like, what if my content changes and I get just like swept up in this cloud of like love and happiness? Like, what do I do? And she was like, well, it's kind of like with Mary J. Blige, she has been in her time as a performer, she's been sad Mary, she's been happy Mary, she's been angry Mary, she's been peaceful Mary, and people that are her fans that really, really like what she does, no matter how she does it, they're with her all the way. And so you're allowed to grow and to change, even though when people first met you, you were living life a certain way. And I was like,
and this is another thing when it comes to the double standard of men and women. If a man does something, and we as men do this all the time, I did this a lot during the Pookie EL debate, that the initial war, where if a man was a Pookie, he's always a Pookie. It can never be anything better than a Pookie. But then a woman can always be one, a girl, one, innocent, and two, always able to change her mind at any point in time, going back and forth, flip-flopping and stuff like that. And this is where I talked about the spread of the logical perspective, where you're seeing more and more people have a logical perspective when it comes to how the things that women say and put out there into the world, on the airwaves, in a sense, or on the wire. And we're asking why, how, and what made you think that, things like that.
Like, so I keep it real. And so, yeah, that's just how serious I thought it was. And what's so crazy is the whole situation was really, it began and wrapped in under a week. Okay, so, but when I explained to you, like I was talking.
So you're seeing how she still gets caught up in these things. And it's, like we're talking situationships. This is how the situationships or the quote unquote relationships happen. And depending on the woman, this is how like they will count it as a possible relationship. Freeman's Journal, women are just crazy. You just have to aim for the less crazy woman. It's like picking lesser of two evils. They're both evil. You know what I mean? That's kind of crazy, but that is what we have to deal with on a regular basis. There is no perfect candidate, if you will. So yeah, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
And she was like, when you told me just how y'all met, the first couple conversations you had, it was almost like the universe set a trap for you, girl. Like, you didn't have to say nothing else. I know you, so I know how this person could have had this effect.
So the universe set a trap for her. And it's like, okay, if I walk around my property and I see certain things, certain traps are just obvious, even when it comes to sales or buying anything or anything like that, you see that all the time. Okay, let me get rid of this block user. Cool, it's the same. Right, and you see these traps all the time, and when we see them, we're like, that's obvious. Especially as human beings. And this is where pattern recognition is very, is totally necessary or extremely necessary, because we start to see where we fall into we see where other people are falling into the same trap, and we need to do what's necessary so we do not fall into that same trap, or understand it and then treat it accordingly and then go from there, because she knew this was a situationship.
If you learn nothing else from me, get yourself some people around you who are like, yeah, well, I'm not surprised. But you're doing good. You're doing your best. Keep doing it. Please. It just, It makes your life so much better. But anyway, let's get into the story. Ooh, before I start, I want to give some disclaimers. So the first thing is that whenever you guys see me tell a story on this channel
Disclaimer.
about love and relationships, it really sounds like something that a freshman in college at a very liberal arts school would have to deal with. I am still a full 37, almost 38-year-old woman as of next week. I'm a full adult woman. So as a result, there are certain things that I don't feel like I have to pretend to do or to believe in anymore. And one of those things is I don't feel like I have to save my body for any specific partner. Again, I'm literally almost a 4-year-old woman. So this story does
totally understandable on that. That's out the window. That's like, women saying they're born virgins and stuff like that. But what's important about what she said is that she still has the same experiences as these younger women.
Include talk of recent sexual activity that I've had, not explicit talk, but I know that the comments will probably be like, well, this is why, you ain't got no husband, because I just, at a certain age, the idea of a husband to me became kind of like the elf on the shelf, where, growing up, especially growing up in purity culture, there was always this mystical, magical husband who was waiting on you and who, you didn't want to upset, and who you wanted to make sure you kept your body pure for and your life pure for, and you wanted to make sure you did all of these things and aligned yourself to be this woman so he would see you. And then you grow up and you realize that for some people, he's just an idea. He's an idea propped up in front of you.
So that elf on the shelf, that purity mindset, or that purity facade, if you will, a lot of women keep that up just so they can actually keep their value up or their attractiveness up to certain men. And that's one thing that a lot of women will defend. And that's why you see a lot of women defending other women's debaucherous behavior, where they say things like what Seth Coe's going to say in a second, I'm grown, or, hey, that's okay, you're learning, so on and so forth. But you're still learning at, getting close to 40.
To like watch over you every decade of your life, like Big Brother, dictating your actions, dictating how you feel about yourself as a woman. But at some point in time, you realize like it's not necessarily real. It doesn't really mean anything. It means as much as you want to put into it. And so that being said, at this age, at my big age, I really am embracing now, and this story is a reason why I am embracing it, because this story is a perfect example of you can meet somebody and be like, this is it. This is the person, and all I need him to do is, and he don't do it. And if you're holding on to this idea of that husband, that elf on the shelf, this magical man that's supposed to be there and make everything make sense, when somebody does disappoint you and they do let you down, it can just feel devastating. Like, when am I going to ever be able to live that part of my life?
And this is important what she said. You start to see where she talks about the elf on the shelf. We've already seen where she talks about the elf on the shelf and the purity that is projected on women. But now she's projecting this elf on the shelf mindset or thought pattern on the man himself. And this is a man, this is a human being. But a lot of times what we do as human beings, I do this myself, other people do this as well, and this is done to me, where we look at the person that we're talking to, and we start to project the vision of who we think they are on them as if they're a canvas. If you look at videos from the Diamond Net, and I won't go into it, but if you look up the Diamond Net, she talks about anima and animus projection. Men will project their anima, their inner feminine, onto a woman, and women will do the opposite, which is their animus onto a man. And what you see is when they start to project themselves or their vision of that man on the man, it doesn't fall in line. It's kind of like watching a 3D movie without the 3D glasses. The things don't pop out to you the way they're intended. They look like three different images. There's the red, the blue, and then the actual image. So then that 3D image looks like it's just broken apart into like multiple images. So she's having an issue reconciling those type of things. And again, this is not me being a psychiatrist or therapist. This is me looking at the behavioral patterns and being like, we've seen this before. We know how this looks.
And so what I just want to reiterate here is, as a fully grown woman, what I'm starting to accept and to understand is I'm already living my life. The relationships that come in my life, they're lasting for as long as they really need to last. I'm not necessarily meant to walk off into the sun with somebody forever and ever and ever, amen. And because that's not necessarily my future.
So this is where you could be like, oh, you selling yourself short, sis. But, this is how she's thinking. This is her mindset. And this is where she's kind of at right now with it.
There are certain side quests that I'm allowed to take because they do add to my enrichment as a human being. So I will not tolerate any sex shaming.
Vitamin D, I guess, is enriching.
I will not tolerate any, overly like puritanical. You shouldn't be doing that because you're, if you should have. I'm doing exactly what I need to do to experience the fullest growth of myself as a person, an older person. I am an adult. So if you listen to this story and you're just filled with a bunch of judgments like Judy, I would advise you to take your black robe and your gavel to another courtroom. That attitude is not welcome here. Okay, let's get into it. Now, earlier I was saying that, like I said, I had a lot of things planned, but I met this person and I got thrown on my butt. Because again, like I said, I was so impacted and it was over and it was wild the way it ended. And so I do want to apologize for the lack.
And what she's talking about in terms of her planning and in terms of what people do a lot is they have so many plans in terms of how they're actually going to do certain things. And then they don't see or understand, or they get caught, they get pushed off track or thrown off track by one little event like meeting someone new, and that changes everything that they want to do about them. We talk about this in the MGTOW space, where it's like or not MGTOW, but sometimes even dating spaces, where it's like, hey, listen, don't plan on a date with a woman, just plan to take the woman where you was already going to go, stuff like that. And this is important because as men, if we are thrown off track easily, and I'm not saying this is easy, she thought she met somebody that really could have been the one per se, but which is kind of funny because she really didn't, because she already discounted or discredited the man in terms of what he would have provided in his intellectual prowess. But we as men cannot do this, or should not do this, where we would be thrown off by somebody that we meet, a woman, and we start to move heaven and earth, and it's just like, listen, no offense, but I'm not moving my Uno game or dice game or spades game with the homies just because you want to start doing all this stuff. You just got here. Calm down. And I think this is the way we should definitely do it, especially as younger men, coming out of our teenage years, 18, 19, and going into young adulthood, 20s and up, and then especially into 30s. When you meet these people, it shouldn't be a throwing you or diverting you off your course or a detour. It should be a small bump in the road, if anything, but it does not knock you off course by any means.
I can upload and just let you guys know that in the future, if I go more than 1 week or 2 weeks without uploading something, please know that it's just because life is happening. I'm working through it. Anyway, the story begins a few weeks ago.
So she went a whole month without making real content. You could see where the gap is in her content, and it was because of this, and partially because of this. And she said other things.
So I went to an art gallery, and when I was there, I was walking around, minding my business, looking at stuff. And I'm not a big person. I'm not super into just art. Like if I ever become really well,
skipping.
I'm not really picky. There are paintings that do move me to art. And I was walking around looking at stuff, and I was like, okay, this is okay. Some of this is really cool. Yeah, sure, yeah, okay. And there was one thing in particular that I saw that just like grabbed me, like would not let me go. And I got very emotional when I saw it. I'm not gonna say what it is, because if I do, it'll give away everything else in the story probably. But I was just so impressed. I was overcome with emotion. It affected me the way a good piece of art is supposed to affect its intended audience, right? And
so a piece of art, a bit of a peacocking or status symbol. Now, the artist is there, and that's still who she started to get with, or talked about, or she got into a situationship with. But she saw this, was drawn in by it, and therefore certain boxes were checked. Certain gates were unlocked, if you will. And he was able to move forward without even being there. So all he had to do was present himself, and he was already through one or two different gates in terms of her guard and stuff like that.
When you're the intended audience, because of how it has affected you. So I was in love with this particular thing. It was my favorite thing in the whole building.
I was in love with this one thing. So, and then you can kind of see where she was in love with the object, and then the person behind the object, it's even easier for her to fall in love with him because he represents that object.
Building, lots of square footage, whatever. This is my favorite thing. So I walked away from it though, minding my business, doing other stuff. And I see a friend of mine talking to a group of guys, so I go over there, and she's saying some crazy things to them, because I think just in my general group of people that I know, if we have had any kind of alcohol, for some reason we do get aggressive. Now, I was actually the one who, I thought I was being rational, but in like 5 minutes that would be challenged, because one of them said, we asked her how old she was, which they were like young women, and they had asked her, but they thought she was 24, so I was like, she is exactly that. We're the same age. Anyway, so she walked off with one of them. They were talking about something, and I turned to one of the guys in the circle, and I just looked at him. I just felt like I should talk to him, so I started asking him questions, and he moved me over. He was like, why don't we step over to the circle?
So what qualified him? We've listened to, we've heard videos or breakdowns from BGS of Stephco's video, and she's talked about how in the past that she likes well-dressed men, she likes clean men and things like that, and that also that archetype or that preference came in the form of her gay male friend, and she fell in love with him or got feelings for him. This gay guy, this guy that, hey, listen, if there's a Grand Canyon, you're on one side, he's on the other side, or she's on one side and he's on the other side. It's like there's a large gap in space in between, and even though they are close physically and sexually, they are not that close. But it's possible that there could have been more to that, that she didn't say anything like that. Okay. Go Saints 2345. Sorry, it took me a second to read that. Is she rationalizing female orbiter status? She doesn't get into that, but if anything, she would be considered a groupie. She becomes a groupie, and she gets to be somewhat of a groupie, and she gets to she gets to sleep with the artist, so to speak. She gets to sleep with Chris Brown.
We step over to the side and we start talking some more about the art, about whatever was there, blah blah blah. And I pointed out the piece that I'd seen earlier.
Here comes the big reveal.
Again, I had something to drink. Wasn't sloppy drunk. I don't do that anymore, remember? But I was, I'd have something to drink. So I was like, you know what? I don't really care about a lot of this stuff, but I care about this. And I went into detail about like how beautiful it was to me and how much it affected me and blah blah blah. I was having an emotional meltdown over this thing all over again. And he stopped me and he was like, it's interesting that you say that because that one's mine. I'm one of the contributing artists here, and that is what I design. That is the type of stuff I make. That's what I do for a living. That's mine. And I was like,
boom, right there. He was already past female groupies are real for sure. He was already through the gates. He was already knocking at the second wall. If you watch Attack on Titan, he already broke through one of the gates and he was going to the inner gates. He was in. He was in. And all he had to do was prove it and not be a liar about it. Now, when you look at something like this, we as men do this. Again, emotional programming, anybody can get it. Men and women can both get it when it comes to emotional programming. I focus mainly on the women. But when you're looking at this man has this is not totally it, but this man, if he's a peacock, he is showing his the labia gates. The labia. Yeah. Well, put it like this: he broke through the skirt, the pantyhose, and he's knocking on the door of the panties per se, and he almost in. If anything, he broke through the skirt. You know what I mean? So we'll put it at that point. So things are getting stripped, or strings were stripped already, and he was already there. But we as men, often what we do is we connect our things to objects, because the quote unquote shiny object does attract the female peacock, right? The shiny, the plumage and all that other stuff that does attract the female peacock. And then we show our plumage and we show that, hey, we have value, we have worth. For myself, I could say things like, hey, listen, I live on acreage. I have a pond. I have a large pond. I have a big truck. And I have a workshop, and I have all this other stuff, and I make this much money, so on and so forth, which is why Kevin Samuels, BGS, and Ron Wills, and other people will point out, like, a lot of the stuff that women say nowadays in terms of their career and what they do is talking like a man, like, you sound like a dude in terms of what you have, because this acted as a status symbol, a bit of an anchor, if you will, or not even an anchor, but it acted as a lighthouse. No, a lighthouse. This was a flame, if you will, and she was the moth. A lighthouse is to guide you so you don't crash into the rocks. She crashed into them rocks. It's funny. She's very honest.
Okay.
So let's go back a little bit.
Like, it's interesting that you say that because that one's mine. I'm one of the contributing artists here, and that is what I design. That is the type of stuff I make. That's what I do for a living. That's mine.
That's like, you're like, it's like, wow, that's a nice car. Yeah, I know, that's mine. And it's just like, oh. So.
And I was like, okay. And so I was talking about the piece. I was still talking about it. We were talking about it together now. And I said, I didn't understand this part right here, but that's okay because I love the way it all comes together. And then he goes, it's interesting that you said that because I just put out a book of my art, and it's called It Comes Together. So we kept having these moments where it was like,
this is the, you can call it universe if you want. It is a coincidence. She didn't give the real name of the book, of the person's art pieces and stuff like that, to kind of not put his information out there or make that connection or what have you. But this is the part where you start to see where it all falls into the, oh my God, this is a sign. Like, here's your sign. Like, that was assigned for her. Again, boom, maybe another layer coming off.
Like, And at one point, I saw, like, he had a tattoo, and I said, well, what is
that? Like, when I heard her say that, I was like, wetter. Wettest, wetter. That's all I heard. I was just like, oh, oh, that pipe is turning on.
And he's like, oh, that's numerology. See what I mean by a trap was set? See? So at this point,
numerology again, pulling that skirt down even further.
I'm just like, well, I made the right decision deciding to talk to this person because we seem to have a lot in common, and more so than just, yeah, you like to do art. Okay, you know, sometimes I do art. I've done art, all right, but it was like we were connected,
and you could see where like, oh, okay, you do art, I could do art too, things like that, and it showed, and she's trying to make that connection, but then she's also trying to say that I can do that too, kind of matching the man. When in actuality, he should be put up on a pedestal in that regard for what he has done. And when I say put up on a pedestal, I mean, okay, if you look at, there's those graphs where it's like those spatial graphs where you have, 4 or 5 points, and then the graph goes out a little bit here, and then it's a little bit less here. If you play NBA 2K and stuff like that, you're into those video games. You could see where some people are better at things than they are at others. They have if you're a man, you have high strength. If you're a woman, you have more emotion, or you can connect more with emotion, or you have like female mages or sorcerers or sorceresses. So, but what she's trying to do is show that she's equal in those regards as well. And it's just like, why do you have to do that? And a lot of women do that nowadays, where they try to show that they are on par at the same level. And it's like, you don't have to be. That person can be higher up in these areas. But with them being higher up on this area, I'm not saying that she should honor him at this early stage. I'm saying that what he has done should be looked at as a plus, should be looked at as something that you hold, that he should be honored for to a certain extent. Like if I see a woman does something in terms of business or in terms of maybe business or hustle, and it's hard for me because it's like, men do these same things too. But if I see a woman do something, oh, okay, I have one female friend where she's great at doing writing grants and teaching people how to write grants and being influential to other women when it comes to writing grants and doing that type of paperwork. Like, I'm not that. And I will put her up on a pedestal as greater or better than me in that regard. I will look at her and I will look to her for that type of information. I am not going to be like, well, you write sentences, I write sentences too. And it's just like, no, you write some different type of shit. And that is not me. And it shows a level of insecurity to a certain extent.
This way that I could feel. And so I then asked him, I was like, okay, well, what's your birthday? And he told me the month, the day, the year, and the time of day. So if you are in astrology world, you know that means that man was about to get his whole birth chart read. And I did do that for him. And he was like, yes, I am interested in this. Please tell me about it, blah, blah, blah. And he let me warble on and on about his birth chart and what this means and this means. And he was just looking at me with like a combination of enchantment and I want to say amusement. Now, he would tell me later that I sounded insane and I was saying some crazy stuff. I don't put it past me. But what I really love about this interaction was a lot of times I feel like my personality is too much, or not attractive, to men because they like to be allured or they're like, I don't know who knows what they want. But I often feel like if I go and
that's a problem. You don't know what a man wants. And what that shows is that she's actually looking at, again, this is just the Steph code that I can see. And she's talking in a more whimsical, satirical nature. It's not that serious when it comes to story time. She might be embellishing a little bit. She might be going over the top and being a little bit more into character of Steph Code, that character. And she's like, who knows what they want? And that's the problem. She's not looking at what the man wants. She's actually seeing she's seeing her projection that she has projected onto the man. The man to her is just a canvas, nothing else. And what she sees, or what she's showing, what she's actually talking to, is that projection. It's like and I can go into it more and describe it more, but all we see is the projection of Tupac now, but we don't see the real Tupac anymore because he's just not there anymore. He's gone, and that's kind of part of the problem, that we start to project all these things on these people, and men do this as well. So we can flip this on the other side, not to be fair and balanced, but just to be honest about it. It is what it is.
Not like make him laugh or do whatever. Like, that's not what they want. And this guy was very much
Go back.
I feel like my personality is too much, or not attractive, to men because they like to be allured or they like, I don't know what. Who knows what they.
So she says, who knows what they want? And she also talks about how her personality is not attractive to men. If you're not going to be yourself, what's the point of being anyone else? If you do get that person, then what happens when they find out you're not that person? And this is what happened with her. She found out this guy was not that person. And she's actually done an update where she's talked about how that guy was talking to somebody else. And I will say that she knew that in her heart of hearts, but she didn't want to acknowledge it. And this is what a lot of women do. They won't acknowledge these things and keep on going further. Can you turn up the audio on Steph Co's video? Sorry about that. No, I cannot. And my audio is all the way up. And let me see if there's anything I can do. There is nothing I can do on that. I apologize, guys, if the audio is low on that. Stop sharing. Is there anything I can do on this? Nah, audio is like all the way up on that. Char Willie, greetings. Thank you so much for joining as always. I appreciate you. Yeah, sorry about that, Freeman's Journal. Hopefully I can be a little bit more quiet myself.
They want. But I often feel like if I go and I like make him laugh or I do whatever, like that's not what they want. And this guy was very much like enthralled in what I was saying. And so finally I was like, no, I'm gonna leave you alone and let you do what you came here to do apparently because you got stuff hanging on the walls in here. And he was like, no, you're not lost on me. And I was like, what's that mean? And he was like, and I knew it meant. But he was like, no, I'm enjoying talking to you. I'm enjoying looking at your eyes while you tell me these things about this stuff that you're talking about. And
running game. And I remember I had a short. I had one date with this woman, and I told her straight up, women like to be lied to. And he may have meant it, but in terms of his actions, we could say he was lying because it was a one and done. He hit it, and then he immediately quit it.
Thank you for the compliment because I had really spent time on my eye makeup that night, so I was appreciative. And then he says, yeah, and I want to see you again very soon. And so he takes his phone out, and when he takes it out, he gets like a notification for that there's a new Jurassic Park like ad out or whatever, a trailer for the next movie. And I was like without thinking, I hit the notification. I was like, oh, because I love those movies so much. I mean, all it takes is for me to hear a Rogue.
Fair use.
And by going buck, I mean weeping. I love it. And the next movie looks like it's going to be really good. So this man had now seen me in all of my stages. He had seen me getting over emotional about a piece of art. He had seen me announce I didn't care about anything else. He had seen me freak out about his birth chart. And now he had seen me be a complete clown over Jurassic Park. So at this point, this person has seen me in a lot of shades of myself. And
this is what alcohol libations will do, where it'll free up that person to be a little bit more of themselves, or they'll be a little bit more lax and inviting. That's another thing. That was another gate that was put down, and quote unquote women know when to do this, or even when these gates are down, I've seen drunk women be like, hell no, it ain't happening with you. I'm drunk, but not that drunk, that type of stuff. That didn't happen to me personally, but something like that did, which is hilarious. But
I think that was just because he just had an energy that made me feel like I could be all of who I was. And that was so welcome for me, right? So he watches this with me, and
how could you talk with a man for a short period of time, especially being an older woman, and already feel that you could be that comfortable with the person, that close with the person? Again, this is libations. This is what they'll do. But you start to see where she easily and eagerly falls into wanting more with this person. Let's go back a little bit.
At this point, this person has seen me in a lot of shades of myself. And I think that was just because he just had an energy that made me feel like I could be all of who I was. And that was so welcome for me, right? So he watches this with me, and we go back to talking about when we're going to meet up again. And he's like, well, here's what we'll do. We'll set a time where you can just come to my studio and see where I make my stuff. And I was like,
okay. That's like saying, that's like being Chris Brown and saying, hey, yeah, I'm about to record this music tonight. You want to drop by? That type of stuff. Also, again, more peacocking, more showing off. In my case, what I would probably do is like, oh yeah, you need to come by my house during the day. When the sun is shining, it's brightest upon upon my pond. My pond, I nickname it Majesty because it's a very majestic view. But you know, shining brightest upon my pond, and so on and so forth. And we see this as, man, this is pure game. This is beautiful. You know, like these are the things that we see on a regular basis, or this is the things that we do on a regular basis to quote unquote prove ourselves. Because again, peacocking, there's a reason for that. You're showing your worth, you're showing your value. And you can't always show that on certain people. You show that in a different way because they value things. Women will value materialistic things, tangible things. But they value these things because it goes towards making their nest or a better nest for them in the long run for their children. I keep on freezing on like the worst parts of like her races and stuff like that, which is hilarious. Alicia, appreciate you showing up. Thank you for joining and interacting with the chat.
Oh, I was so excited that he would like invite me there, and I was like, yeah, it's not a big deal. So I'm walking around with him, and like we're talking about other stuff, and he keeps saying stuff, and finally I was like, you were on my list, and he goes, what? And I was like, never mind. But all jokes aside, very seriously, what was so interesting about this interaction was I have been wanting to meet this person, for years.
Boom, this person, not just that, but for years. How could you want to meet this person for years? And what that shows is there's a little bit of mixture. Let me light a candle here. There's a little bit of mixture of the image, the projection, so to speak. By the way, went to Bath and Body Works. Got 2 3-wick candles. This is Midnight Blue Citrus. Midnight Blue Citrus. This is the closest one to Frozen Lake, which is a seasonal one. But Midnight Blue Citrus, beautiful, beautiful scent, beautiful scent. Especially on these spring days, I was able to put my plants back outside, and hopefully there won't be another cold snap here in Southeast Georgia. But burning that candle right there. So I guess that's the closest I'll get to Kevin Samuels and his scents and stuff like that. But I do like a good candle in the sunroom here, especially on hotter days. All right. But she talks about, and we'll go back, but she talks about, this is who I wanted to meet. This is the projection. This is the man that I envision. This is my painting, my Mona Lisa, if you will, my David, that I have sculpted and painted and brought together over the years. And in a sense, to a certain extent, he's actually seeing that, and he's actually not buying into that, but investing in on that because it's going to pay off in pussy. You know what I mean? So like he's investing into that because he's seeing these things and he's seen it before, especially if you're an artist. It's not his first show, not his first piece or anything else like that. He's probably done this quite a few different times, and he knows what this is. He knows what the quote unquote art groupie looks like. Again, not looking at Steph Co. I can't say that. That would just be a total a coward move. But not just looking at Steph Co. Looking at what and who Steph Co. represents. This is something you see in music. This is something you see in art or anything where you have a level of admiration or fetishization or fetish, if you will. All right, moving forward, or going back, then moving forward.
You were on my list. And he goes, what? And I was like, never mind. But all jokes aside, very seriously, what was so interesting about this interaction was I have been wanting to meet this person, for years.
This projection.
Years. I wrote a list in 2012. I wrote a list of like 4 years I've been thinking about and wanting and manifesting this type of person because I just felt in my soul. Sometimes you just feel things, you're like, yeah, if I just have my pick, this is the kind of partner I would want. And so he's just saying, thing after thing after thing. And I'm like, am I gonna marry him? Like I felt very drawn to him. And we went outside, when the whole thing was over.
It's okay, Stefko. We understand.
We were outside. The mood definitely switched and got a little bit more romantic. Please remember, I am grown. And
boom, right there. This is probably one of the first times she said it directly like that. Please remember, I am grown. And what that does is it's a cover of saying, hey, listen, I could do what I want to do, boo, on period, on P. This is what I want to do. I'm going to do it. I'm a grown woman. I can go ahead and do this. I can make whatever decision I want. The problem with that is when you start making videos about pretty privilege, or other people making videos about colorism, or other people making videos about men and what they're not doing, how they're not high value, how I'm always taking care of these men, and so on and so forth. These same women, when you talk to them, and if her friends would have talked to her beforehand and said, hey, listen, what are you doing, blah, 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 she would say, remember, I am grown. Or I should actually stroke my own hair. Her hair looks nice. I think that's hers. It looks nice enough. But I've seen it in other videos and stuff. But remember, I am grown. Like I am grown. Like there's that, like where it's just like, okay, you're grown, but then on the other side of it, this is what a lot of men dislike in terms of the male image, the black male image especially, is that you're grown, but then you're gonna blame us for what happened. Then you'll see even in later on in the video, and I'm actually going to do a large skip here and get to the 29-minute mark. But you see where she's like, Kyle Harrison. You'll see where she talks about how she's grown, but then, or at the end, and I don't know if I'll get to the end of this video, but at the end, she talks about how she's grown, but then she gets mad at the adult decisions that she made, the vulnerability that she had, and not liking what she quote unquote did, or she felt taken advantage of when she got what she wanted out of it, breaking a 2-year dry spell. Kyle Harrison, why do women always play with lace fronts? At least Steph Coase is somewhat honest about her mistakes. And this is true. She is very honest about her mistakes. And this is why you could look at somebody like a Steph Coase and be a little bit more on the objective side. And I don't want to like really attack her per se. Not because I find her attractive, but really, you look at what she's saying, but the problem I have with what Steph Coase does is that she is saying these things and then other women are picking up on this. And this is the usual defense or the usual stance of women where they will protect a woman no matter what she does, good or bad. You see a lot of women that will actually put themselves out there, the loudest ones, the ones on social media talking about these things, where the majority of them will always talk about if a woman does something bad, still protect her. If she does something good, uplift her even more. And that's a problem because we don't really call out, what people are doing. And she's not even calling out her. She is taking accountability, but she's covering up that accountability in a sense by saying, I am grown, and like that is to me is annoying. And I look at that and I'm like, I see women do that. And it's like, well, I'm grown. And it's like, all right, you're grown, but you're sitting here talking about this stuff and talking about how you lost it. This is why I talk about preferences, not or argue results, not preferences. I don't care what your preferences are. What are your results? Are you getting what you want? And a lot of these things that I say in terms of my sayings and my isms, if you will, my grizzly isms, if you will, like pussy in the pews and stuff like that. Those are old one from back in the day. But a lot of these come from the application to myself. I can argue my preferences in women, but what are my results? Am I getting what I want? If the answer is no, then we have to look at your preferences and say, maybe those aren't the right preferences to have. The equation is not balancing out. Yeah, Kyle Harrison. I don't know if that's a lace front. It could be, but I've seen her hair in other places. So
get a little closer. A kiss was exchanged. She initiated it, not me. So none of this talk about me being aggressive. Please remember that. And it was.
Kiss was exchanged.
Kiss was exchanged. He initiated it, not me. So none of this talk about me.
He may have initiated, but I'm sure she put those signals out and allowed it to happen and stuff like that. It's like the person that closes their eyes like this, and then it's just like the other person actually they don't move their head, so they didn't initiate it, and it's just like you did, kind of. Come on.
You're being aggressive.
I'm being subjective in that one.
It was very good. It was technically extremely proficient.
That was unfair of me. I'm being subjective on that one. That wasn't an objective pattern recognition there.
It was just a beautiful ending to what seemed like a very fated beginning. Like, what is this going to be? And so I left him that night and I went home. I went to sleep right away, makeup on my face, whatever. And I woke up the next morning. I was hungover because apparently.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna skip to the 29-minute mark. If you guys want to watch the entire video, go ahead. But the 29-minute mark is where we see the different side of Steph Coase. This is where we start to see where Steph Co, this is the juxtaposition of perspectives. This is the juxtaposition of mindsets. This is the juxtaposition of personalities, where there's these two personalities, these opposing personalities. There's the Steph Co that we all see, and then there's the Steph Co that will fall into the traditional female roles, even though this man does not measure up. And she talks about how he doesn't measure up. So we're skipping to from the 14-minute mark area to the 29-minute mark.
On the idea of like us dating seriously, and I was like, I'm just gonna enjoy this for what it is. Like I said, I'm grown. So through the carry out of it, ooh, that's where the frustration was gonna happen. That's where we were probably going to end up going our separate ways, regardless. At this point, I gave up on the.
Okay, let's go a little bit back. Let's go back a little bit further, maybe to the 28-minute mark. She starts to talk about his disqualifiers.
I was going to have sex with him. Yes. And he was like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm going home. And he was like, oh, okay. And I said, yeah, I'm going to go home. I'm going to make some food. And he was like, what are you going to make?
I'm going home, right? The glance is like, I'm going home. The same place you need to be. You know what I mean? And then also the opening. This is where I talk about with online dating, women will, if a woman really likes you or feels your pictures, she will give you that opening. She will start to ask more questions. She will be more forthcoming and giving of information.
And I started describing like the spicy rigatoni that is and, on social media. And his eyes just lit up. He was very excited about that. He was like, that sounds really good. And I said, oh, you want some? He was like, yeah, yeah.
That some was in the rigatoni, and trust me, it was just as spicy, I'm sure.
You need me to get anything for it? And I was like, don't worry about it. Because at this point, I realized, who I was actually dealing with. Like, yes, I felt this connection to him. Yes, I would be so excited if this could be my person. But the follow through, the carry out of it, ooh, that's where the frustration was going to happen. That's where we were probably going to. This
is where, I guess that's a bit of my thirst. I got to put the chapstick on. But this is where the two mindsets meet. This is where the Steph Co that talks about men in the way she does, and the content that she puts out, and the content that she puts out about relationship is looking at this man and saying you're not enough and you won't be assertive or whatever. And then she's looking at the Steph Co that wants to be with somebody, wants to have some type of relation or relations with a man, and she knows it's not going to last, but she's going to try and get whatever she can. A little bit of vitamin D can go a long way, essentially.
You end up going our separate ways, regardless. At this point, the carry out of it, ooh, that's where the frustration was going to happen. That's where we were probably going to end up going our separate ways, regardless. At this point, I gave up on the idea of like us dating seriously, and I was like, I'm just going to enjoy this for what it is. Like I said, I'm grown. So we did go back to my house, and I made him food. And at one point, I had asked him to like make something for me, like build something for me. At one point, when I was
that making something for her, that using your hands, getting into getting into actually taking the male role. So you start to see where the female role, the classical traditional female role, is playing out, and she wants him to. This is role playing. This is total role playing. And in Steph Co's mind. Sorry, I apologize. This is I'm making an assumption here, but I think in Steph Co's mind, this is light foreplay. This is, what can he do with his hands? Can he if he can make this, then it can, he can make me do whatever. But you're seeing this. And this is some things that women do. And you start to see the smile that's on their face. She's cooking for somebody. And let me go on. There's a lot in this right here.
Seriously. And I was like, I'm just going to enjoy this for what it is. Like I said, I'm grown. So we did go back to my house. And I made him food. And at one point, I had asked him to like make something for me, like build something for me. At one point when I was cooking, I looked over and I saw him like working so hard to put this little thing together. And I say working so hard because like part of it was missing, and it was actually something I should have just not even bought. But he was so cute because after he tried to build it, even though part of it was missing, he kept trying to give me tutorials. Okay, he took that serious. He kept trying to give me tutorials. Oh yeah, about that. He was like, girl, I didn't care about that text. I just saw it and I like moved on. I didn't. I'm sorry if it came out wrong, but no, you didn't bother me with that. So that's what happened with that. But anyway, he kept trying to like show me like, okay, well it didn't work out, but like if you wanted to, you could use this part and hang this like this. And maybe you could do this like this, like showing me different ways I could repurpose it. An artist. And I was like, no thanks, I'll be returning it. I need it to work exactly as it was purchased because I don't have it in me to repurpose anything. But I looked over at him trying to put something together for me, and while I was making him like this food to eat, and like my heart just broke into 1,000 tiny little hearts. Like I felt so content and so grateful.
Contentment. She talks about being grateful. Again, she's fulfilling the traditional female role, and he's fulfilling the traditional male role. This is light foreplay for This is like foreplay, role playing at this point.
That like he was here with me for the time that he was, like, again, because I knew I was like, this is not going to be a relationship because he has no, like, I'm going to end up, I'm gonna beat him up, like, I could tell, like, he's just not, and then later on relationship content, and so grateful that like he was here with me for the time that he was, like, again, because I knew I was like, this is not going to be a relationship because he has no, like, I'm going to end up, I'm gonna beat him up, like, I could tell, like, he's just not, and then later on.
So something in her already showed that he's not going to be the relationship type or for the relationship or be able to quote unquote handle her in a relationship, maybe intellectually, financially, physically. Well, not physically, because physically he's about to handle her. And she talks about how she had to wake up multiple times at night to use the bathroom, which is kind of funny. And along with the rigatoni, she was jostled. So he broke, listen, he ain't just break her off a piece. He broke a piece off in her. It sounded like, and it could have been the best 2 minutes of her life, or 2, I don't know, of her life. But you start to see where she has already discredited him on he's checked certain boxes, but there's a lot of other things that are left unchecked, and she has disqualified him. And this is the problem. We often do this as men and women where we disqualify people and we don't actually say, hey, listen, all the boxes that they don't check, I check. This is one single form because we come together as an entity, interlocked, intertwined, as rosebuds going up. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. But as two people coming together, two halves of the same whole, and coming together to be one person. A lot of times we're looking at each other separately, and instead we really should be looking at each other as one, or 1/3 or 2/3 of a whole, if you will. And that's a more realistic look at it because not everyone's going to have what you expect. And again, she talked about earlier on in the video the difference 15 minutes make, which is a couple days in her case, in terms of her living her life. But she talks about how earlier on in the video, you were on my list, right? And now she's looking at it, and this is the second, third interview for this candidate for the job, and he's not fulfilling all of it, but she's going to at least give him a little summer internship, so to speak. And this is the problem. We often look at people, and it's crazy a single guy saying this, but we often look at people to complete a list when in fact what we should be looking at is for people to fill in the blanks. We've provided the paragraph. They just need to fill in a couple spots. They don't need to do everything. I don't need my wife to be smart. I don't need her to be super intelligent. I don't need the mother of my children to be this, and that. There's certain things that I do require, and then there's certain things where it's like, hey, listen, if she ain't got it, no problem. That's where I'm supposed to come in and make up for it, because that is the balance. And then that goes on to the children. So it's crazy. She's trying to have him feel everything, which is wild to me.
We would talk, I would find out, like, yeah, I was right.
It's wild to me as a person who's 36 going on 37, hearing this from a 37-year-old going on 38.
So grateful that like he was here with me for the time that he was, like, again, because I knew I was like, this is not going to be a relationship because he has no, like, I'm going to end up, I'm gonna beat him up, like, I could tell, like, he's just not, and then later on when we would talk, I would find out, like, yeah, I was right. He doesn't really want anything serious. He doesn't really see, now he did say things like, well, I don't have kids yet, and I was like, I'm so jealous of men in their 30s. Like, they can still say, I don't have kids yet. Like, they're 21, 22. Whereas women in our 30s, we have to be like, I gotta freeze my eggs. Do I have enough money for IVF? And men, literally at any age in their 30s, can be like, it hasn't happened yet, but you never know. Unfair. But anyway, yeah, I knew, like, this is not a guy who was at the time of his life to prioritize relationships. So really.
And it's funny because later on she finds out that there was somebody else. When if you look back at even at this video as we are now, compared to, there's another video after this on her channel, where she talks about, hey, this guy, he was dealing with someone else. And it's just like, I mean, if you look at somebody like a Love Dorsey, she talks about a lot of women will put men in relationships that the man didn't even agree to. And it's just like, this is what we see a lot. Anyways, going on.
It's just good to have him in space. And I've said this before, that I do have that part of me that longs to nurture and like take care of and give to someone. And that's what I let myself do. I just let it all hang out. I made him food. I moisturized, like his.
Chaos Rain, man, I appreciate you showing up. I always see you on Ed's panels and things like that. I never get to join, but yeah, do appreciate your input and things like that, man, as a person of this space. No, I'm confusing you a little bit with Hammer too, but I have seen you, of course, and I saw you even in one of his last streams. But yeah, and I appreciate Ed sharing this content. And I've been wanting to do an emotional programming stream with him titled, the music is, turning called labeled or titled "Turning Out Your Daughters," and just talking about how this music is turning out these young women, and also have turned the men as well astray. But that's not what I focus on. But I will admit, a lot of this music is programming a lot of people. Moving on.
So while he was watching the show, I was like, in your hands, hang out.
Okay, going back to traditional female roles, traditional male and female roles. She's cooking while the man is building something. He's trying to say, hey, listen, you could do this, this, and that with him being creative and trying to solve that problem, being a problem solver, and she being a problem stater. And then now she's looking at him in his hands and wanting to take care of him, so to speak. Chaos, I'll put you in here in a second. And go from there. Give me a second. I just want this part to play out, Chaos, and I'll bring you up.
To nurture and take care of and give to someone, and that's what I let myself do. I just have that. I knew this is not a guy who was at the time of his life a prioritized relationship. So really, it's just good to have him in the space. And I've said this before, but
role playing
part of me that longs to nurture and take care of and give to someone, and that's what I let myself do. I just let it all hang out. I made him food. I moisturized his hands. He had a bunch of calluses. So while he was watching the show, I was like, in your hands, and I gave him a manicure. Okay, I didn't do that, but I did take care of his hands. He had sniffles and he kept touching his eye. And I was like, I'm gonna give you some medicine. So I gave him some allergy medicine for that. I noticed that when we were at his studio, all he was drinking was this beer. And I was like, have you had any water today? And so I gave him 4 or 5. He had a lot. By the time he left my apartment, he was hydrated, he was well fed, and he was moisturized. Okay, so so that is what I did for him.
And before I bring you up, Chaos, this is the last point I'll make. And actually, I'll bring you up right now. And allow me to make this point here. But with and you're on, by the way, just in case you're muted. Yeah, you are muted, but yeah. But she this is the other side of Stefco. This is the Stefco that wants to nurture, that wants to take care of, that wants to fulfill those traditional female roles. And she even said it. She felt content. She felt at ease, peace. She feels that contentment that I feel even today. Today was a beautiful day. The time changed. Now it's 6 o'clock and the sun is going down and everything else like that. And it's just, I feel the contentment of hearing the birds chirping, the wind chimes, the wind chimes chiming, and all these other things. I feel at peace, at ease. And she felt at peace, at ease. She allowed herself to give into that holodeck, if you will, like you would see in Star Trek, where they give into they immerse themselves in the simulation, and she's immersing herself in this simulation. Stan Shelton, appreciate you as always, brother. Yeah, man. What you doing, Charlie? Conversation. Yeah. So Stan Shelton, always appreciate you showing up. Yeah, Chaos Rain, man. Unmute yourself and tell me what you think, brother.
Actually, I just got to the crib and I was just scrolling through the desktop feed, and I saw Edward post this. So I'm not sure if you're in his Discord, because normally when he posts something, it's probably something of importance. So let me click on see what it's about. And here I am. I see this is Steph. Is this Stephen Cole? Is this the lady?
Yeah, Steph. Oh, Steph Cole. Yeah.
Is she fat? Because this person I already see.
I don't think she's fat, but she may carry some weight in her face. But I mean, okay. I'm not talking about that per se. I'm talking more about just to get you on topic here. But we're talking about the juxtaposition of personalities, where a lot of women, and Steph Cole is just the example that we have, just like we have a superstar or something like that we could look at and we reference. Steph Cole is a bit of an archetype of modern women today, where they have two personalities that they're fighting with and trying to reconcile with or reconcile their differences within themselves. That civil war that they're having, where they're should I be a modern woman that doesn't need a man, or should I be a woman that likes the company of a man and fulfills those roles that that are traditional?
Well, my question I should ask if anybody asks this lady up here, what is the importance of a man? Because if she's conflicting between the two, we got to go by the definition and ask Steph and Cole, what is the importance of a man? Not two, but what is the real importance of a man? And from there, you will go down this rabbit hole with her in regards when she gives you her answer. Because there's conflict, that tells me you're in this world with uncertainty. And you cannot live in the world uncertain. Either you're going to be this or not.
Yeah, especially as a woman that she's going into her 40s.
Uncertainty leads to stagnation and leads to non-progression, and it leads to other things. You get me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And as men, we sort of fall to the same thing, but at the end of the day, we gotta know what we want, and there has to be some certainties down the line. Women today,
and I'll just catch it, but I think a lot of times, a lot of women are trying to play both sides of the fence, and you know, you're not getting any younger in a sense. After a while, like, why do you have to play that? She seems like she strikes me as a woman that doesn't want to settle, and you know, thinks, you know, less of a man in a sense, or if she thinks less of a man, she's not going to be with him or try and stay with him.
Was she raised by both parents or one parent?
I have no clue. I have no clue on that.
I get those sometimes when I hear women talk about the conflicts of her decisions, what she want to do with her life. Should she want to be on earth alone or want to be with a mate? When I hear these conversations with women conflicting that, I always gotta know a little bit more about her, if possible, because really, truly, at her age, I think she probably is in her 30s. If we could probably assume this,
she is 37, going on 38.
Okay, and I doubt she has kids since
nope, no kids.
So it seemed to me that she's now at a stage of life to figure out what is it what you really want. And at this point in life,
I'm sorry, she's at that stage in life, you're saying?
Yeah, she at the stage in life that she's up here, like you said, because it's been speeding up. Come on, listen to it. It's like it's fast, so it's hard to hear because it's going too fast. But it seemed to me if a man's not in the equation of her life to carry on forward until the end of time or end of death, possibly, then what is your real purpose? You know, because I think she makes money because I think she's like an anchor or something. No,
I believe she's an educator in the state of California.
Okay, so is it like a top educator or just a basic educator? Because there's ones that have.
I don't know. She would strike me as a middle to high school teacher.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't say she's a professor.
I'm
sure. Could be totally wrong on that.
Yeah,
but what you're seeing is, of course, her environment plays a role. And sorry for, the audio. If you're complaining about it, somebody else has that same complaint. I am so used to playing content at 2x. This is going actually slow for me at 1.75. So I'm sorry if it's choppy. I know Freeman's Journal said that it is also not loud. So I apologize for that.
Well, it's loud enough to me, but it's so fast. That's what I'm trying. I know if you try to speed it to get to a point, I get it. Because usually when I play these things, I got play as is, and I just forward and pause the things that is of importance. You get me? Grizzly. Right. Instead of her running out, because we don't hear no one chatting. It gets annoying after a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, you kind of you get that block too. So it's just like, why am I listening to this person?
No, it's good for content because you try and bring emphasis of the point. But when you have to run at a certain speed with certain voices, it does get to there. Just let you know, brother.
Yeah, I'll put it on 1.5. Then in that case, just for other people, but we also want to get through it as well.
Yeah, because keep playing. Keep playing.
At the end of the day, like we want people to actually hear this and understand it, so it forms the proper context. So this is good feedback, by the way. So I appreciate it. It's the first time I've actually done like long form content like this where I'm breaking this stuff down live. I usually do the timestamps when it comes to this type of stuff. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of the same things where we could say, okay, what's your age? Where do you live? What's your job? What are you making? And, what's your weight or something like that. I'm not going to lie. Steph Cole looks like the person that got a little bit of ass on her. If she doesn't, that would be really sad. But she got a bottom to her. But you can kind of see where, getting back to the point here, you can kind of see where she is trying to fulfill, or she's trying to immerse herself in that bit of role playing, if you will, where she's being the traditional wife per se. And go ahead and mute up for me, and
All right, I'm
I'll
up right
play a
now.
little bit more. Yeah, I'll play a little bit more.
And what he did for me was he definitely held on to me very tightly. He made me laugh. He listened to a lot of my little stories. And he also followed up on his vibe in those text messages. And
Yeah, that's a
well,
perfect tone. I like that. That's the right speed. That's the right speed.
That's the right speed. Okay.
Yep, that's good. That's good enough.
Listen, I don't know what it is, man, but I'd be freezing on the best, the worst freeze frames of her face, man. And but this is where she's talking about where, you know, she got her dose of vitamin D after a 2-year drought, which is funny, you know. So not funny, but it's we know what this is as men, where she has played into, she knows this ain't it, but this ain't right, but this is right now. Put it like that. All right, continuing on.
and that is all I will say about that. So yeah, we had a very nice adult time. I did ask him if he wanted to stay over because it was late, and
That usual stay over thing, and I mean, I did that even with the last chick I was with. I was just like, you know, my friend was like probably 7 minutes away, and my friend was like maybe 7 minutes away, not even that far of a drive. But then I was just like, yo, I'm kind of tired. Like, let me stay a little bit longer, you know, trying to get around to. So I know what that is. Let's read a comment here. Stan Shelton. Well, I don't like living under your spotlight just because you think I might find somebody worthy. Jennifer Hudson. And you know, I could see your point, or I could see where that applies to this, right? Where it's just like a lot of women don't find your spotlight just because I think you might find somebody worthy. Actually, explain that, because I don't want to. Those lyrics are revealing. Explain that a little bit, Stan Shelton, and where you're coming from with that. I don't want to mess that up, and I don't want to pontificate on that. But yeah, explain that. That I want to hear more about that. Well, I'll leave that up as well.
he was like, okay, sure. And so he was just very sweet and very like nice and accepting. He had some very scary stories from his life, but in general, his energy was just very calming to me, and I felt, I felt wonderful with him.
His male attention, his male energy was very calming to her. Her being immersed in that role playing of a traditional woman, and being with her man, taking care of him and making sure he's fed, hydrated, and moisturized, and also his balls are empty. You know, like being all those things. It's kind of crazy that this actually made her feel content. Yet she would discredit this man in so many ways. And Chaos, if you want to jump in, I can stop at any time. Just let me know.
Around. And it's always weird when someone stays over. You never know like what they're going to do. Are they going to sleepwalk around the entire apartment? You don't know. Are they going to snore so loudly that you need to rush out and get them a CPAP machine so that you guys can both sleep? Those are the machines with a mask over the face. You never know. But we just slept very peacefully next to each other. Well, I kept shooting up, like straight up in the bed and going to the bathroom because when he was over, or when I made that pasta, we put a lot of cheese on it. Plus, I'd had wine, and plus with our adult activity, I hadn't been jostled around like that in a while, so I had a ton of gas, and I kept having to get up and turn on fans and the sink and everything, and move that stuff around. So I did that, and I would go back to the bed. I wasn't doing nothing, but he didn't care. He was like knocked out, and yeah, the next day we woke up, and
Hey, hey, man, he bust them. Hey, pressure bust pipes, and he went into it. You know, he okay, let's read this from Stan. But he went into it, and pretty much he filled the Nile River on that one. Stan Shelton, women want to step out. They want to be independent. Okay, I get you. Well, I don't like living under your spotlight just because you think I might find somebody worthy. And and that's crazy how a lot of women want to be independent on one side, and thank you for this. But then on the other side, they also want to be connected or attached to somebody to a certain extent, or they want that. But to be honest, a lot of people nowadays want to rent that. They don't want that totally and fully, which is kind of crazy.
had things happened, and then I made him breakfast, and I could tell like his energy was kind of different. He was anxious to go and like get his day started. Also, when I just brought up the idea of us seeing each other again before he left, he was like, you know, there was none of this. Hey, what do you have open? When are you available? What?
Yeah, man. He already did his delivery. He dropped off his package. He's got to go on to the next stop. You know, like, what do you expect? All right, we're gonna skip forward a little bit because this just gets into. Actually, that's really it. Because at this point, after this, she starts to get into where she caught a lot of feelings. She was she seemed very attached to the situation, and he already kind of said what it was. He wasn't wanting anything serious, and then she starts sending crazy text messages. Stan Shelton says, agreed, right? Women have an internal fight. And this is so true. But you know, she starts to send these crazy text messages, and you could hear it where you could tell that she had a couple scenarios playing in her head about what this guy should have done, what he is doing, what he's not doing. There's somebody else, blah, 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 and things like that. And she sent 2 long, super long text messages to this guy. And she kind of doesn't know if it, she kind of thinks she said those got to him. And that's pretty much it. But what you see is the juxtaposition, as I said, or the title of this video, juxtaposition of personalities, where there is a civil and an internal war with a lot of women, where they're trying to reconcile what society has programmed them to be versus what they actually want. And it's a way of having these 2 different personalities is a way of maintaining some sort of sanity, if you will. But it's a problem when those 2 clash, because at the beginning of the video, she talked about how she just put out a video about how she's not doing Valentine's Day again. And again, she's not having that. And then she met this man that is, I thought I met the love of my life. I was incorrect. Chaos Rain, anything you want to put on that, brother? Nope. All right. So, this is kind of the standard thing that you see with a lot of women. I'll end the stream here. I appreciate you guys showing up and, you know, getting into this. I do appreciate the share from Edward Anderson and other people in the space. I'm sure, you know, it's always good to talk about these things and really do this as a way of pattern recognition. And we do these pattern recognitions because we have to start seeing some of the things that are happening around us and in our environment. I won't say that MGTOW is off course. MGTOW is going through the same evolution that it always that most movements have, such as 3rd wave feminism going into the 4th wave. I call it 3rd waveism, and 3rd waveism is more or less where by the 3rd wave, the 3rd wave of the movement is far removed from the principles, not just of the 2nd wave, but the principles of the actual first or initial wave, the genesis point, if you will. So it's far different than what it was intended to be or intentionally was. And now we're looking at where these this 3rd or 4th wave is moving away and moving to different things, and in some cases maturing and also regressing. In terms of MGTOW, we're seeing where as when I got into MGTOW around the 2nd wave of the movement, it was more about understanding female nature and understanding women and understanding what they do so that we as men could better deal with them and better deal with them in our environment. Now you're starting to see where it's not overbearing per se, but we're seeing a more pronounced fight against it and changing and terraforming of the environment as well, which is what men do. So we're changing the environment, which is also a good thing. But then you're also seeing where certain things are regressing and more people are staying in a state of red pill rage and not moving on past that and just keeping that anger. All right. With that being said, thank you guys all for listening and joining. Chaos, if there's anything that you want to say, let me know. And if not, then I'll end the stream. But I was going to make this one a short one, but I'm glad I got through that video. All right. Chaos has been abducted.
Hello?
All right. Oh, you there?
I'm sorry. I had to grab something quickly.
No, you're good. I'm about to end the stream here.
But I'll say this: with Stephen Cole and her troubles that she's going through is a typical day and age for modern women, if that's what we want to call them today. They got to make a decision. You get me? They don't have all day and all life to keep thinking about it. The clock's not in their favor. A lot of women. If you want me in a relationship, you go seek a relationship. If you want children, you go seek a man to have children. It's simple. It's not hard. You get me? And she has to keep contemplating, keep thinking, overthinking it. To me, as a man, you don't know what you want. And if I would date a person, I just keep moving.
Yeah.
Be wise.
Yeah. And there's like, I mean, that's a good point where you do at some point do have to make a decision where you're saying, hey, I'm not getting everything I want.
Yeah.
Stan Shelton says this is an advanced topic, Grizz. You might have to build up to this. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I try to this emotional programming. There's another. I do have playlists, and I do try to make playlists for all of the categories for some of my videos. But this emotional programming, the biggest thing about it is kind of to what you're saying. You know, a lot of people have to make a decision, but we've been programmed to almost do everything, an agreed mindset, if you will. And we're not able or capable of actually handling more options as human beings, which is why usually when you're at work, you give your boss 3 options: the one you want him to actually go, the one you want him to go with, the one he kind of could go with, but it's not good, and then the one he definitely shouldn't go with. So 2 bad options, 1 good one, and you hope he always takes the good one. And the good one is the one that you always put forward. And some bosses are like, listen, I don't want options. Maybe I want 2 invoices, but I don't want options. I just want the right one. And that's usually how men think. But you're starting to see where even men are having a hard time with all these decisions, and women are having a hard time with these decisions and all these options that are coming forward. But yeah, Stan, man, hey, listen, man, if you ever want to join the chat or anything like that, or the stream, Stan, let me know. Reach out to me at aoe4eva@gmail. And let me know if you want to talk about this a little bit more, man. See if there's anything that I'm missing. Topics like this, man, this is what this is the type of stuff that I like, because you know, it shows it shows how society and also how women in general are actually programming other women, which is why this emotional programming thing is very important, because you're seeing artists like SZA, Cardi B, Doja Cat, Saweetie, and women before them have programmed these women to think this way. Your Beyoncé's, all the single women, you know, your Jennifer Hudson's, your Mary J. Blige's and stuff like that. And she mentioned Mary J. Blige, and how these women have actually programmed other women to go through these traumas ahead of time without actually experiencing these traumas themselves. So then they already go out in the world or go into relationships hating men, having this disdain or dislike for men, already looking at men as less than or inferior, already looking at men as being traumatic and toxic, and so on and so forth. It's kind of crazy that all these women are having these toxic relationships, when what's really happening is these women are living vicariously through their favorite actor or their favorite actress and singer-songwriter. All right. Yeah. But this is an advanced topic, and this is why I like to talk about, this is where I get into relationships on my channel and talk about it more.
Okay. Excellent.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, as always, Chaos Rain. I appreciate you joining so much. And if anybody else wants to talk about this panel where we talk just about this after you've watched the video, let's definitely go ahead and do it. My email's in the chat. Stan Shelton, last comment. Right, the movement is empowering without necessarily educating. Yeah, most definitely. Right. You know, it's those positive affirmations. It's nothing but positive affirmations, but there are no positive actions with those affirmations. All right. All right, cool. I'm going to finish. I'm going to drink some water and watch some Netflix and then get to do some work. Talk to y'all later and appreciate you as always. Peace. Love you all.
Take care, everybody.